Welcome to the Rebel Movement podcast. Welcome back today with your host, Charlett Albert. As you know, this podcast was created with the intention to empower entrepreneurs to build a business their way. There are so many conversations around blueprints on how to achieve X results, and we wanted to create a podcast, a resource for you that empower you to really step into your intuition and understand who you are at the core so you can build a business that truly lights you up. And I'm really excited because today I have the amazing Kristin with me. She's a dear friend of mine, and her and I connected a while back where I was actually on her podcast. And we had the most incredible conversations around business and intuition on feminine and masculine energetics. And she actually comes from a corporate background and decided to become a digital nomad. And she's traveling full time as she's guiding people on a journey to unapologetically really stepping into who they are, dismantling beliefs that are stopping them from really being in their greatness. And we have her here today, and we're going to have a conversation around intuition and business growth. And we're gonna let it flow a little bit because we're both very intuitive and we're really excited for this conversation. So welcome, Kristin. Thank you so much for being here.
I'm so excited to be here, Charlotte. Thank you.
Let's start off with a quick introduction about who are you? Who is Kristin?
Who is Kristin? Kristin is always evolving. Like you said, I have a 15-year corporate background. I was in leadership and change management work. And now I have left that world behind, and I have had my business now since March of 2019. So I'm celebrating 5 years this month. And I am an intuitive, I am a healer, I am a purpose guide. I am an animal lover. I had a woman call me an animal priestess recently, which I loved. I am a kombucha groupie. I like seek out kombucha everywhere that I go. I'm a traveler. I've been traveling since December of 2020. And I am just an evolver here to support humanity and its evolution.
So beautiful. I love that. Just listening to you, it feels like an exhale. It just feels like, right? It's like all this weight, all these ideas of how things are supposed to be, of how we were told, like, this is how you're going to be in order to be successful, right? And then just listening to you and like seeing you thrive in business and in life, and it just feels like an exhale. It feels so good. So I'm actually curious. I would love to talk about the courage to start your business like this, leave the safety net of a corporate career, and being so courageous and be like, I'm gonna leave this behind and I'm gonna start something that really lights my soul on fire, business and life.
Mm-hmm. So I was actually guided out by the universe. So I had a plan of transitioning out of corporate, but what actually happened was I had two positions eliminated within a year of each other. So after a very successful corporate run, I thought this is a sign from the universe to get out and start my business. And it has been quite a journey. It does take tremendous courage, and entrepreneurship is honestly one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. It
Yes.
really has pushed me consistently out of my comfort zone and really holding that mirror up to me of, who I am. So it has been a lot of faith. Um, I look for angel numbers. People might think that that sounds silly, but I look for angel numbers. And to me, it's a sign that I'm on the right path, and it gives me reassurance. And also, I have just secured this belief in my mind that if I am on my purpose journey, which I am, there is no way that I can possibly mess it up or fail. Like, I have to be supported and resourced on this journey because I am here doing exactly what I was meant to be doing.
So beautiful. I'm curious, when we started the conversation, you were talking about how you are on a path to really deepening who you are and really stepping into that next level of Kristen, who she is, and really stepping into that next level of audacity to really, show the world who you are. And I'm curious, what does this look like? What is this journey? What is this process? And what gives you the confidence to approach that next level?
Mm-hmm. So in corporate, I felt very much in a box. I felt very much like my expression was tempered. I was talked to a lot by management about, my voice and in the world as a leader and how it should be and all of this stuff. And so when I started my business, I really wanted to step into alignment of really my full expression. And it has taken a lot of dismantling of the systems that I'm plugged into, the beliefs that I've had, all the things that I thought were who I was, but really weren't. So really questioning everything. The more that I unattach from the world around me and come into my own energy, the easier it is to have that confidence about who I am, because the clarity is just there. It's like, no, this is actually what I believe in. And I'm so strong in that, and that I can be in spaces with others and actually witness them in their full expression, which I love, even if I adamantly disagree with what they're saying. Like, I love people to be in their full expression, especially when it's coming from a space of truth, when it's coming from a space of like fear and, plugging into the systems and it's not really a true expression. I mean, that's different. But when somebody is there unapologetically expressing who they are, I do nothing but celebrate that. So it really has been more of a journey of the dismantling, and I'm continuing to do it. And I've actually I call my coaching style now audacious reflection and coaching, because I don't mess around. Like, I just say what I see, and can see so deeply into people. And I don't want to be unapologetic. I don't want to be apologetic about that. I want to be able to express what I see, and also be able to say things like, I want to work with people who are, past the phase of being a victim. And as a coach, that was a very difficult initially for me to come out and say as a coach, because as a coach and as a healer, we're quote unquote supposed to be, holding this compassionate space, right? And I believe that I can hold that compassionate space exactly where I decide to coach to, and that I can always say, like, if you're in this place in your journey, beautiful, like I was there once too, but I'm not your person right now. You have
Mm.
someone else here to support you on this journey. So it's been a lot more of like that, really like stepping into audaciously about what I believe and who I want to work with, what I will tolerate in my business and what I won't. Like, I am not here to just be in service to be of service. I want it to feel amazing to me every time that I work with someone.
I love that conversation so much. And it's like something that I work on so much with my client when we're writing content. So we speak to just the people that we really want to work with, because it's so easy. We have a lot of wisdom accumulated over the years, and we can help so many people with so many aspects. But do we really want to help everyone with all those things, right? And then really understanding who you are and what lights you up. I truly believe when we create these win-win scenarios, everyone wins, really just working with the people that light you up. And when you are together, it's like magic. It feels so beautiful for both of you, and results happen so much smoother and faster in that kind of scenario. So I love that, being so specific and understanding, okay, this is the exact person I want to work with. And then being confident and also giving away or referring business to other people. I think this is the sweet spot. And this is something that when we all learn to master this, everyone wins. It's going to feel so liberating. So I'm curious, what are some of the beliefs that you see people are holding in business that are not serving them? Maybe you've had some of those, but I'm actually curious, like, what are you working on with your clients where you feel like, you know, you mentioned you can see so deeply what's going on with people and how they're not unapologetic of who they are. And I'm curious, what are some of the patterns that you see in entrepreneurs right now, and how can we shift those beliefs?
Mm-hmm. A couple things that come to mind right away is being on social media is one thing, and then the other thing is taking responsibility for other people. So the social media piece is really interesting because obviously we live in a very social media heavy world, and some people just have this belief that they can only be successful if they're on social media. And I personally build my business through events and networking. And I love being on Instagram stories. It's like a creative outlet for me. But it is not my primary sales funnel. So I do, of course, sell myself in that space, but it is not where it's not my business place. It's like it is business because it's all like wrapped up into one, but it's also my creative outlet, and I love for my stories to be beautiful, right? And that's part of my expression. The responsibility piece is really interesting because I think that especially people, I tend to work with a lot of people who are stepping into a service provider role. And so having to move out of this place of just holding space for everyone else, and not having time for themselves is another really big thing that we work through. And how can you unattach from all the energies around you? How can you really walk into a space holding this bubble of energy that is purely yours without letting other people penetrate into that? And what does it take to be able to do that? Also just fear, like in general, fear of like this willingness to stay in the suffering because it's so ingrained, and then to keep um feeling frustrated at it and like projecting it out, but also not realizing that like we're fighting against the very thing that we desire, right? Like we actually want to pull back from all of that and really um walk in the path that we desire, but we're so hooked into the path that we've been walking. And so there's this fear of like, well, what does it look like if I step into that path? So I'm just going to stay suffering over in this other path in the meantime, but I'm never going to let go of this other path. So it's like really like about shrinking timelines of how long are you going to waste in suffering and fear before you decide to like choose you in that self-honor journey.
Oh, I love this conversation so much. I think it's so common to be in fear and then projecting out and feel like we're blaming the algorithm or social media or being like, I don't have the financial resources to invest, or there's so many things that we projecting out of fear, and we stay there. And yes, we do have this deep desire to, I don't know, impact X amount of people or make
Mhm.
X amount of money. So I'm curious, what's the process that you guide people through? If anyone's listening, be like, oh yeah, that's me. Like I know where I want to go, but I am afraid. I am, thinking I don't have the money, or I don't have a big audience, or I wonder if my offer is good enough, or all these fears. Like, what are some things that people can do to fully own who they are and trust the process more, step out of the fear more towards their desires? How can we shrink those timelines?
Mhm. So one practice that I really love is really it's a journaling practice that I sit and I get into my intuitive space. So when I journal from this place and I'm like, I know that I'm holding myself back in some way, maybe I'm throwing a temper tantrum for like a day and I'm just in my emotions. And then when I'm ready to face it, because I allow myself that time and space to be in the emotion when I'm there. But I watch how long it goes. Like now it just that timeline is even shorter, right? I don't need to spend a month feeling a certain way. I can do it in an hour or a day or whatever, and then feel like, okay, like I felt the thing, I'm ready to move on. That moment is important to note. So when I'm at that space, what I do is I journal, and I always write energy clearing in my journal, because it's important to me when we write things down that we're not perpetuating what we actually don't want. So I write energy clearing down, and then I'll just write, like, what are all the fears that what am I afraid of? What am I actually afraid of? What is getting in my way right now? And I just write those out. And sometimes it'll start from like a heady space. And then usually I'm dropping into my intuition and then getting into the subconscious and just writing from there. But wherever you are is beautiful. So just writing out those fears and then asking for truth, right? So at this point, dropping into your intuition, right? However that looks like for you, if it's dropping into meditation, if it's visualizing this soul-led version of yourself, if it's connecting with one of your spirit animals, like whatever that process looks like for you, dropping into that space, clearing out the noise, and really asking what is the truth about each and every one of those. Every time I do that, I feel such a shift in my energy that it's just so incredible. Now I'm just doing that faster and faster, and there's less time spent in that space of wavering.
Oh, I love that. I definitely want to try this journal practice. And I love how you said I put energy clearing on top, because sometimes we perpetuate what we do not want. So sometimes journaling, we write a lot of the things that we don't want anymore, and we actually stay in the loop by keep writing about those things, right? Um, it's actually fun. Like, one of the things that I've just done with my clients was really looking at what are the things that are working for you, and really writing down what feels easy to you in your business, because ultimately we create the business, and we can either focus on the things that are not working and they keep not working and we keep writing about it or journaling about it, or we can start looking at what are the things that are working, and we have all heard this, what we focus on expands. So we write these things down. It can be as little as like, it's so easy for me to get one like with my content. It impacted one person in whatever way. Like, I met an incredible woman at a networking event. I'm building my network. It's working. Like, all these little things, everything is compounding. And when we start to see it, things are actually shifting so much faster for us. So I really love the intentionality behind the journaling, and clearing also the things that get in the way to collapse timelines. So really cool practice. I like it a lot. I want to shift gears for just a moment and talk about a feminine and masculine energetics. You mentioned you're like in a phase right now where you really explore what your feminine looks like and what your masculine side looks like, and how to step more into your feminine. I'm curious what this process looks like.
Yeah. So when I got out of corporate, I was very masculine in my corporate world. And when I got out of that, I swung all the way into my feminine, and then I got nothing done. And so since then, it's like I had to go to one extreme and then the other to see the polarity. And then now I've been really merging and integrating the two. And so for me, it's really been about owning the fact that structure, and that masculine structure and container works for me in my regular workflow, right? So when I have that container to be held in, then I'm safe to move around and flow how I want to within that container. So it's really been about owning that for myself. And then also something that you talked about at one point, I believe it was you, where you talked about how, if we're always in the doing, and it's like there's this two-way stream, right? Like the giving and receiving, right? So if we're always like giving, 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 then we don't leave space for the receiving. And so I've really been actively also practicing like, working for a solid chunk of time and then going out and hiking, for example, or just getting out into nature and going to hunt down a waterfall because I'm a waterfall chaser. And that's also been really beautiful, but it takes a conscious effort for me to really recognize. And then another powerful thing for me in the shift has been to recognize that the masculine energy it actually wants to build whatever container I want. Like the masculine's like, just tell me what you want and I'll create the space for you, you
Mm.
know? And that's within me. That's like, I did this meditation where I met the masculine and I met the feminine part of me. And then I married the two. And I really saw that, like that lightness with the masculine. The masculine was not trying to control me. The masculine was just like, tell me where you want to go and I'll build the staircase.
Oh, I love that. I was just thinking, I had like a light bulb moment when you were just saying that. I feel like so many of us are building structures, building a masculine that we do not even want. Right? We're creating business models because it made someone else successful. Like we're launching a membership or a group program or something because it made someone X amount of money. And we're like, oh, let me do this. And then we built this structure, this masculine side and the feminine inside of us feels so unhappy. We can't flow, we can't be in the process. So I really love how you said like create a masculine structure and you build it in a way that lights you up because
Mm-hmm.
yes, there are infinite ways to build a business or build your life. And I mean, you were such a shiny example of this being like, I quit corporate and I'm creating the structure for me in a way that works for me. And right now it looks like traveling X amount of days and staying in places like that and working X amount of hours and then taking the afternoon and just really receiving like we have that power within us to create a structure that truly allows our soul to flourish and be happy. Because in the end of the day, what is all this business, whatever we're doing, if inside we're not fulfilled? Even if we have X amount of dollars or X amount of clients, we won't be happy if the structure we created for ourselves makes us miserable. So I am like, wow, what an aha moment. I really love how you described it like that. I definitely resonate with that. So amazing. Is there anything else that you feel like you want to give to our listeners as it comes to tapping into their intuition and as they're building their empire, their business?
Mm-hmm. What I will say is that intuition allows you to expand beyond the mind. So even when I was corporate, Kristen, very logical, I thought anything was possible. I was always a dreamer. But now that I'm connected to the world of intuition, there's so much more possible. And so what I would encourage you all to follow the energy that you feel, whatever that is, whether that's intuition or it's just I need to change what I'm doing. I need to shift my path up. I need to jump in and practice my art again because I've put that to the side for so long. And when you're building a business, I also want to say that if you're in resistance to building a particular thing in your business, I would ask if it's actually what you really want. And then step back and say, if I could build what I actually want, what would that look like? Even if no one else is doing it, because that is your magic and the world is waiting for it.
Great, beautiful. Kristen, as usual, it's been an incredible conversation. I've had goosebumps. I'm like feeling when you speak, I just feel it on a soul level. It's just so
Mm.
enlightening. I love it. When people want to connect with you or they're curious about working with you, how can they find you and what do you have going on? We will also link to everything in the show notes below.
Yeah. So Instagram is rewilding KQ. I also have a podcast like Charlotte mentioned, and that's called Sacred Rebel. And my YouTube channel, KQ Unplugged. So just all over the interwebs. And I have a Substack channel. I don't write very often, but I do have a small channel there. What do I have going on? I actually um, just created a new type of session that really incorporates all my work. It's like stepping into a portal with me, and I called it the Leap. If you want to jump into the Leap container with me, and it's a 90-minute container, and it involves human design, intuition, masculine, feminine dynamics, audacious coaching, and reflection. And it's like this little like a vortex with me, and so I'm really excited about that space right now.
That's exciting. I love everything that you're doing. And her podcast is incredible. Like the long, deep conversations about truth, like really life, intuition, and so many spiritual insights. I'm always activated listening to Kristin. So definitely check that out. So thank you so much, Kristin, for being here today on the Rebel Movement podcast. We will link to all of her information below in the show notes. If this conversation excited you, activated something within you, feel free to share it on your stories and tag Kristin and myself. Let us know what your biggest takeaway was from today's conversation. And if you'd like to go deeper with us on building your business your way, the Rebel Movement membership is open. And for our podcast listeners, you can join right now for just $1 trial to check it out and see if this speaks to you to really build a business that lights your soul on fire. So thank you for being here. Until next time.